Admiral Day Kong stood in the observation deck, his hands clasped behind his back as he watched the council chamber through the massive glass window. Below him, thousands of alien beings filled the circular room. Some had scales, others had fur, and many looked nothing like any creature from Earth. They all sat in their designated seats, representing civilizations that had explored the stars for thousands of years. Day was a tall man in his 50s, his hair now gray at the temples. He wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's defense fleet, though the fleet was small compared to what surrounded them at Nexus Prime. Only 30 years ago, humanity had met their first alien species. 30 years of trying to fit in, trying to prove they belonged among the stars. Today would determine if all that effort meant anything. In the center of the chamber stood Ambassador Ji Hei. She was younger than Day, perhaps in her early 40s, with sharp eyes and a voice that carried authority. She had argued for 3 hours now, presenting Earth's case to the Council. The issue was simple but painful. The Valtherian hegemony, the most powerful military force in the galaxy, wanted Earth's outer colonies. They claimed they needed the space for their own expansion. They claimed it was for the greater good of the galaxy. Ji Hei's voice echoed through the chamber. We have treaties. We have colonization rights granted by this very council. Our people have lived on these worlds for 20 years. We have built cities, farms, and homes. You cannot simply take them because a stronger power demands it. The Valtherian representative, a massive creature with dark purple skin and 4 arms, stood to respond. His name was Counselor Veth, and his voice rumbled like thunder. The human colonies occupy a strategic corridor that my people need. Earth is a junior species. You have only been in space for 3 centuries. You have only been part of this council for 3 decades. You must learn to accept your place in the natural order. They felt his jaw tighten. The natural order. They had been hearing that phrase for years. It was the Council's polite way of saying that humans were less important than everyone else. Ji Hei did not back down. We are a sovereign species. Our colonies are protected by Council law. If you ignore these laws for us, what stops you from ignoring them for others? Today it is Earth. Tomorrow it could be any of you. Some of the alien counselors shifted in their seats. A few nodded, but most remained silent. Day had been around long enough to know what that silence meant. They agreed with Ji Hei, but they would not stand against the Valtherians. A vote was called. The chamber filled with the sound of electronic chimes as each counselor cast their decision. The results appeared on a massive holographic display above the chamber. 847 votes in favor of the Valtherians. 1 vote against. The Krill Confederacy, a small alliance of peaceful traders, had abstained. Ji Hei stood frozen in the center of the chamber. Day could see her shoulders slump slightly. She had known this might happen, but knowing and experiencing were different things. High Chancellor Morthrax of the Valtherian hegemony rose from his throne-like seat. He was ancient, covered in ceremonial armor that gleamed under the chamber lights. When he spoke, his voice was almost kind, which made it worse. Your species has spirit, Ambassador Ji Hei. I admire that. But spirit without power is merely noise. You are young. You will learn to accept your place. In time, you will understand that this is how the galaxy works. The strong lead, the weak follow. It is the way it has always been. They saw Ji Hei's hands ball into fists, but she bowed her head slightly, turned, and walked out of the chamber. The other human diplomats followed her, their faces tight with barely controlled anger. They left the observation deck and met Ji Hei in the corridor outside. She was leaning against the wall, her eyes closed. When she opened them, he could see the tears she was fighting to hold back. They took everything, she said quietly. 30 years of diplomacy. 30 years of trying to be good members of the council. and they threw it away in one vote. Day put a hand on her shoulder. You fought well. You made the best arguments possible. Arguments do not matter when the decision was made before I even spoke, G.A. said. She looked up at him. What do we do now, Admiral? Day was quiet for a moment. He had been thinking about this possibility for weeks. He had hoped it would not come to this, but he had prepared for it anyway. He pulled out his secure communicator and typed a single message to Earth Central Command. The message was only 3 words. Recommend Protocol Exodus. Ji-Hei watched him. You are pulling us out? I am recommending we leave the Council, Day said. The final decision is not mine to make. But yes, I believe we should leave. And then what? Ji-Hei asked. We cannot fight the Valtherians. We cannot fight the Council. We have 40 ships in our entire fleet. They have thousands. Then we build, Day said simply. We go home. We close our borders. We build until we are strong enough that no one can vote away our rights ever again. Ji-Hei stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. How long will that take? As long as it takes, Day said. 5 years, 10 years, however long we need. 2 hours later, the human delegation stood in the main docking bay of Nexus Prime. Their ships were prepared for departure. News had spread quickly through the station. Many aliens had come to watch. Some looked sad. Some looked indifferent. The Valtherians looked pleased. Day stood at the front of the human group. He activated his communicator so his voice would broadcast throughout the station. On behalf of humanity and the nations of Earth, I hereby announce our withdrawal from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. We came to you in peace. We asked for fairness. You chose to deny us. We will remember this day. He turned to his people. Everyone board the ships. We are going home. Captain Tae-Sung, a young pilot with quick eyes and quicker hands, approached his commander as they walked toward their vessel. Sir, what happens now? Do we just give up? Day stopped and looked back. At the massive station, at the thousands of alien ships docked around it, at the council that had rejected them. His voice was quiet, but hard as steel. Give up? No, Captain. Now we remind ourselves why we survived alone for so long. We survived ice ages. We survived plagues. We survived wars that nearly destroyed our entire species. We did all of that without any help from the council. He started walking again. We are going home. We are going to seal our borders. And we are going to build something these aliens have never seen before. When we come back, it will be on our terms. Tae-Sung followed his commander onto the ship. As the docking clamps released and the vessel pulled away from Nexus Prime, he looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere out there was home docked behind them. The council continued its business. The human seats in the chamber were already being removed. Within a day, it would be as if Earth had never been there at all. But Day Kang watched the station grow smaller in the view screen and thought about the future. The council had humiliated Earth today. They thought humans would quietly accept their place. They were going to learn how wrong they were. 5 years had passed since Earth walked away from the Galactic Council. 5 years of silence that made many in the galaxy uncomfortable. Counselor Veth stood in the intelligence briefing room on Nexus Prime, studying the holographic display that showed human space. Or rather, what used to be human space. Every colony world was marked in red, indicating no contact. Every border station showed the same status. Automated defenses only, no response to communications. What do we know? Asked Elder Counselor. Thane, an ancient being who had served on the council for 800 years. Veth gestured at the display. Nothing new, Elder. We took the outer colonies as authorized. When we arrived, they were completely empty. Every human was gone. Every building was stripped. They even took the power generators and computer systems. It was as if they were never there. And their home system? Thane asked. Sealed, Veth said. They have automated defense stations at their borders. We sent 3 probe ships to investigate. All 3 were destroyed within seconds of crossing into human space. The defense systems did not even warn us first. They simply fired. Another counselor, a being made of crystalline structures, spoke up. Perhaps they are simply afraid. They retreated to their home world to hide. Veth nodded. That is my assessment as well. The humans have gone silent because they know they cannot compete with us. They are cowering in their solar system, hoping we forget about them. Only one voice disagreed. Ambassador Rel of the Krell Confederacy stood at the back of the room. He was a small creature, barely 4 feet tall, with gray skin and large eyes. His people had abstained from the vote 5 years ago. I disagree, Rel said quietly. I have studied humans. A species capable of terraforming 6 worlds in only 2 decades does not simply stop. Something is wrong. This silence feels dangerous. Veth laughed. Dangerous? Ambassador Rel, the humans had 40 ships when they left. 40. We have thousands. What could they possibly do? Rel said nothing more, but his concern remained. He had met humans before the vote. He had studied their history, their wars, their remarkable ability to survive impossible situations. The other counselors thought the silence meant weakness. Rel thought it meant preparation. Far beyond the edge of known space, past the orbit of Neptune in Earth's solar system, the truth was being built in secret. The Oort cloud had always been a region of ice and rock, forgotten by most. Now it was the most important place in human space. Dr. Su Yun floated in zero gravity, watching the construction through the window of the observation station. She was a brilliant physicist who had spent the last 5 years working on Project Prometheus. The project was simple in concept, but incredible in execution. Humanity would build a fleet. Not 40 ships. Not 100. A fleet large enough to make the entire galaxy pause. Outside the window, massive vessels took shape. Automated construction drones worked without rest, assembling hull after hull. Raw materials came from the asteroids, processed by factories that humans had built in secret long before leaving the Council. The energy came from fusion reactors that made Council technology look old and inefficient. How many now? Asked a voice behind her. Su Yun turned to see Ambassador Ji Hei floating toward her. The former Council ambassador now worked as Earth's colonial defense coordinator. She split her time between Mars and the hidden shipyards. 1,247 warships completed, Su Yun said. Another 300 in various stages of construction. We will have 1,500 within the year. Ji Hei stared at the ships. Each one was sleek and deadly, nothing like the vessels Earth had shown to the Council 5 years ago. These were weapons of war, designed by humans who had spent 5 years thinking about one thing: never being humiliated again. The Council thinks we are hiding, Ji Hei said softly. They think we are afraid. Good, replied a new voice. General Han Ru pulled himself through the hatchway into the observation room. He was the head of the Hidden Armada project, responsible for everything from ship design to crew training. Let them think we are weak. Let them be comfortable. The surprise will be better that way. He moved to the window and pointed at one ship larger than the others. It was massive, bristling with weapons that no human had ever built before. That is the Indomitable, our first dreadnought class. Engineer B.O. Me finished her 3 weeks ago. Specifications? Ji Hei asked. Railguns that can punch through any shield in the Council's arsenal, Han Ru said with pride. Plasma lance batteries that can cut a heavy cruiser in half. And armor made from composite materials that we developed specifically for this project. The Council has nothing like it. Su Yun brought up technical displays. We have also developed new manufacturing techniques. We can build ships 10 times faster than the Council. Our automated systems never get tired, never make mistakes. In 5 years, we have accomplished what would have taken them 50. And the crews? Ji Hei asked. Training constantly, Hanru said. Every pilot, every gunner, every engineer has spent 5 years preparing for combat. The generation that joined the fleet after we left the Council grew up with one purpose: to make sure Earth never bows to anyone again. Ji Hei was quiet for a long moment, watching the ships. When I stood in that Council chamber 5 years ago, I felt so small, so powerless. The Valtherians looked at me like I was a child asking adults for favors. She turned to face the 2 officers. High Chancellor Morthrex told me that spirit without power was just noise. He was right. But we have spent 5 years turning our spirit into something more, into something they will have to respect. Or fear, Su Yun added quietly. Is there a difference? Hanru asked. Before anyone could answer, an alert chimed through the station. A communication officer appeared on a holographic screen. General Hanru, we are receiving an encrypted message from outside human space. It is marked urgent. Source? Hanru asked. The Krell Confederacy, sir. Ambassador Rel is requesting contact with Ambassador Ji Hei. Ji Hei and Hanru exchanged glances. The Krell were the only species that had not voted to take Earth's colonies. They had abstained, and Ji Hei had always remembered that. Put it through, Ji Hei said. Ambassador Rel's face appeared on the screen. He looked older now, more tired. Ambassador Ji Hei, forgive me for reaching out after so long. I know your people want to be left alone. What is wrong, Rel? Ji Hei asked, her voice gentle. She had always liked the small ambassador. The Valtherians have begun annexing neutral territories, Rel said. They claim it is for security purposes. The Council protests, but does nothing. Yesterday, they attacked Krellix, my homeworld. We are under siege. Our defense fleet cannot hold for long. His voice dropped. You were right to leave the Council 5 years ago. The Council is not a place of justice. It is a place of cowardice. But I remember that humans spoke of honor. If your people still remember what that means, we could use help. The transmission ended. The observation room was silent. General Hanru looked at Ji Hei. This is not our fight. The Krell are not our allies. They did not defend us 5 years ago. They did not attack us either, Ji Hei countered. They abstained. That took courage when everyone else voted against us. She turned to look at the fleet outside. 1,247 warships. More than Earth had ever possessed. More than most species in the galaxy possessed. Enough to make a statement. The Council humiliated us because we were weak, Ji Hei said slowly. We built this fleet so we would never be weak again. But what do we do with this power? Do we hide in our home system? Or do we show the galaxy what Earth truly stands for? Su Yun spoke up. If we intervene, the Council will know we have been preparing. Our secret will be revealed. Good, Ji Hei said. Let them know. Let the Valtherians know. Let everyone know. She looked at Hanru. Prepare the fleet for departure. We are going to Krellix. Hanru smiled slowly. With pleasure, Ambassador. It is time the galaxy remembered Earth. Later that day, in the command center of the hidden shipyard, Fleet Commander Day Kang stood before a massive holographic display showing the entire armada. He was older now, his hair completely gray, but his eyes were as sharp as ever. He had spent 5 years building this force, training these crews, preparing for this moment. He activated the fleet-wide communication system. Every ship, every crew member, every person in the hidden bases could hear him. 5 years ago, we left the Galactic Council in shame. They took our colonies. They dismissed our protests. They taught us that power is the only language the galaxy understands. We have spent 5 years learning that language. Now we speak it fluently. He paused, letting his words sink in. We are going to Krulix. We are going to remind the Valtherians that Earth does not forget its friends or its enemies. And we are going to show the Council what happens when you underestimate humanity. His voice grew harder. Prepare for departure. We return to the galaxy not as supplicants, but as equals. And anyone who stands in our way will learn what it means to face humanity united. The fleet began to move. The first sign that something had changed came at dawn on Nexus Prime station time. The defense grid operators were drinking their morning stimulants when the sensors began screaming warnings. Ships entering the sector, the lead operator called out. Multiple contacts. Very multiple. Her supervisor rushed over. How many? Still counting. 100. 200. They keep coming. On the council floor, an emergency session was being called. Elder Counselor Thane arrived first, moving slowly despite his age. Others followed quickly. Counselor Veth entered the chamber looking confused and slightly annoyed at being woken early. The main display activated, showing the space around Nexus Prime. Veth's annoyance turned to shock. 1,000 warships hung in space above the station. They were arranged in perfect formation, their hulls dark and angular, unlike any design in the Council's database. Who are they? Someone asked. Then the communication came through. A voice that some of them recognized. A voice they had not heard in 5 years. This is Fleet Commander Day Kong of Earth. We are not here for you. We are going to Krulix. Try to stop us, and we will go through you. The chamber erupted in chaos. Humans. Impossible. The humans had 40 ships when they left. How could they have 1,000 now? High Chancellor Morthrex stared at the display, his 4 arms hanging limply at his sides. Those are not the same humans, he whispered. What have they become? The Council's defense fleet consisted of 200 ships, pulled from various member species. They were good ships, well-maintained and well-crewed, but they were designed for defense and occasional skirmishes. They were not designed to face 1,000 warships that looked like they were built for war. The defense commander sent a hesitant message asking the human fleet to state their intentions. Dai Kang's response was broadcast on all frequencies. We have stated our intentions. We are going to Krulix. The Valtherians are attacking our friends. We are going to stop them. You can move aside, or you can try to stop us. Choose quickly. The defense fleet parted like water. The human armada passed through without firing a single shot. At Krulix, 300 Valtherian warships surrounded the small planet. They had been bombarding the surface for 2 days, destroying military installations and demanding surrender. The Krell defense fleet of 30 ships tried to fight back, were hopelessly outnumbered. On the bridge of the Valtherian flagship Dominion, Commander Zeth watched the siege with satisfaction. The Krell would surrender within hours. Their shields were failing. Their weapons were nearly depleted. It was only a matter of time. Then his sensor officer called out, "Sir, we have incoming vessels." Large formation. Zeth glanced at his display. How many? 100 and counting, sir. They are still arriving. Krell reinforcements? Zeth asked. They have no allies willing to help them. Unknown configuration, sir. Ships do not match any known design in our database. The first wave of human ships dropped out of hyperspace. Captain Tae-Sung commanded the carrier group Defiant, leading 50 warships. He was older now, more experienced, but he still had the quick reflexes that made him one of Earth's best pilots. All ships, battle formation, Tae ordered. Target the Valkyrian fleet. Weapons free on my command. The Valkyrians sent a communication demanding identification. Tay's response was simple. This is Captain Tay Sung of Earth. The Krell abstained when you stole from us. We do not forget our friends or our enemies. Leave now, or we will make you. Zeth laughed when he heard the message. Humans? The cowards who ran away 5 years ago? Tell them to leave before we destroy them. Tay smiled grimly. They want a fight. Give it to them. All ships open fire. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations. The human ships moved with precision and speed that the Valkyrians had never seen. Their weapons fired from distances that should have been impossible. Railgun rounds traveled at relativistic speeds, punching through shields that were supposed to be impenetrable. The Valkyrian ship Retribution took a direct hit to its main reactor. The explosion tore it in half. 2 more Valkyrian cruisers tried to flank the human formation and were destroyed by plasma lance fire that cut through their armor like paper. Seth stared in disbelief. How are they doing this? Our shields should stop those weapons. His tactical officer looked terrified. Sir, their technology is far more advanced than ours. They have been developing in secret for 5 years. We cannot match them. We outnumber them 3 to 1. Zeth shouted. All ships full assault? Overwhelm them with numbers. The Valkyrian fleet charged forward. It was a mistake. The human ships split into smaller groups, using tactics that maximized their technological advantage. They targeted engines first, crippling ships so they could not maneuver. Then they methodically destroyed weapon systems. The Valkyrians fought bravely, but they were fighting with outdated technology against an enemy that had spent 5 years preparing for this exact moment. 2 hours into the battle, the Valkyrian fleet had lost 150 ships. The human fleet had lost 3. The math was simple and brutal. CETH gave the order to retreat. The surviving Valkyrian ships limped away, their pride shattered. As they left, they passed more human vessels arriving. The full force of Earth's armada was gathering at Krellix. On the surface of Krellix, Ambassador Rel watched from a bunker as the battle ended. He had expected death today. Instead, he had witnessed something he thought impossible. Earth had come. Earth had won. His communicator chimed. A human face appeared, one he recognized. Ambassador Ji-Hae, Rel said, his voice shaking. You came. We told you we remember our friends, Ji-Hae said. She was aboard the dreadnought Prometheus, which had just arrived in the system. Your people are safe now. We will maintain a defensive position here until your fleet can recover. Thank you, Rel said. But this will have consequences. The Council will demand answers. The Valkyrians will want revenge. Let them come, Ji-Hae said calmly. We are done hiding. Fleet Commander Day Kong stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching the Valkyrian ships retreat. Around him, his crew worked efficiently, already calculating trajectories and repair schedules. They had trained for this. They were ready for more. Sir, we are receiving multiple communications from Nexus Prime, his communications officer reported. The Council is demanding we return for an emergency session. Day smiled slightly. Of course they are. Inform them that we will arrive when we are ready. First, we secure Krellix. Then we talk. Captain Tae-sung's voice came through the ship-to-ship channel. Commander Day, did you see that? We destroyed them. They could not even touch us. Stay focused, Captain, Day said, though his voice was warm. This was only the first battle. There will be more. But privately, Day allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. 5 years ago, High Chancellor Morthrax had told them that spirit without power was just noise. Today, Earth had shown its power. Today, The galaxy had learned that humans were not cowards who ran away. They were warriors who prepared. 3 days later, the human fleet departed from Krellix, leaving a defense force behind to protect the planet. They set course for Nexus Prime. This time, they were not going to ask for permission. They were going to demand respect. As the fleet traveled through hyperspace, Day called together his senior officers for a meeting. Admiral Ji Hei, General Han Ru, Captain Tae Soong, and Dr. Su Yun all appeared via holographic projection. The Council will try to intimidate us, Day said. They will threaten sanctions. They will claim we violated their laws by intervening at Krellix. Let them try, Han Ru said. We have 1,000 ships. They have 200. The math speaks for itself. It is not just about numbers, Ji Hei cautioned. We need to be smart about this. We won the battle, but we need to win the peace as well. If we come across as conquerors, the entire galaxy will unite against us. Su Yun nodded. We should present ourselves as defenders, not aggressors. We saved the Krell. We stopped a violation of Council principles. We are the ones upholding the values the Council claims to believe in. They considered this. Ambassador Ji Hei, you will speak for us in the Council chamber. Tell them the truth. We left because they failed us. We returned because we refused to let them fail others. Earth is offering the galaxy a choice. Continue with the old ways with a strong prey on the weak, or embrace a new philosophy where power protects rather than dominates. Ji Hei smiled. It was the same smile she had worn 5 years ago when she argued before the Council. But now it was backed by 1,000 warships, and the knowledge that Earth would never be ignored again. I will make them listen, she said. One way or another. The fleet emerged from hyperspace above Nexus Prime. This time, no one tried to stop them. The human ships took position around the station, a silent reminder of what Earth had become. In the Council chamber, the emergency session was about to begin. High Chancellor Morthrax sat in his throne, looking older and more tired than he had 5 years ago. He watched as Ambassador Ji Hei walked into the chamber. She looked exactly the same, but everything else had changed. The chamber was full. Every species had sent representatives. They all wanted to see what the humans would say. They all wanted to know what Earth wanted. Ji Hei reached the center of the chamber and stopped. She looked up at the assembled counselors. When she spoke, her voice was clear and strong. 5 years ago, I stood here and asked for justice. You gave me excuses. Today, I return not to ask, but to demand. Earth has terms. You will listen. The Council chamber had never been so silent. 847 species watched as Ambassador Ji Hei stood in the center of the floor. Outside the massive windows, Earth's fleet waited in perfect formation. 1,000 warships that represented 5 years of preparation and centuries of human determination. Elder Counselor Thane leaned forward in his seat. Ambassador Ji Hei, we welcome you back to this chamber. However, Earth left the Council of its own choice. You cannot simply return and make demands. Ji Hei looked up at the ancient being. Her expression was calm, but her voice carried an edge that had not been there 5 years ago. Elder Thane, with respect, I am not asking to return to the Council. I am here to deliver Earth's terms. You will listen, because the alternative is something none of you want. Counselor Veth stood up angrily. Are you threatening this Council? After we gave you the chance to be part of the galactic community? You gave us nothing, Ji Hei said coldly. You took our colonies. You ignored our treaties. You taught us that the only thing that matters in this galaxy is power. We learned that lesson well. She gestured toward the windows. Those 1,000 ships out there are proof of how well we learned. She pulled out a data pad and projected a holographic document above the chamber floor. These are Earth's terms. They are not negotiable. First, our former colonies will be returned to us immediately. Every world you took from us 5 years ago now belongs to Earth again. Angry murmurs filled the chamber. The Valkyrian counselors looked furious. But Ji-Hei continued. Second, the Valkyrian hegemony will pay reparations to the Krell Confederacy for the unprovoked attack on Krellix. The amount will be determined by an independent committee. High Chancellor Morthrax rose from his throne. This is outrageous. The Council voted legally to reassign those colonies. And our military action against the Krell was justified under security protocols. Your security protocols are excuses for bullying, G.A. said. Which brings me to my third term. The Council Charter will be amended to prevent majority rule annexations. No species can have their territory taken simply because a larger power wants it. There must be genuine security threats, not convenient excuses. She looked around the chamber. And fourth, Earth will have a permanent seat on the Security Directorate. We will have a voice in all military decisions made by this council. The chamber erupted. Dozens of counselors began shouting at once. Some demanded that Earth be sanctioned. Others called for the human fleet to be destroyed. A few, very few, looked thoughtful. Fleet Commander Day Kong's voice cut through the noise, broadcast from the Prometheus. I suggest you choose your next words carefully. We have 1,000 ships. Your defense fleet has 200. We have weapons technology you cannot match. We have crews trained for 5 years specifically to fight. The Valkyrians learned this lesson at Krellix. Do you want to learn it here? The shouting stopped. The threat was clear and backed by overwhelming force. For the first time in the Council's long history, a species was dictating terms through military superiority. Ambassador Rel of the Krell stood up. His small form looked fragile compared to the larger beings around him, but his voice was steady. I support Earth's terms. Everything they ask for is reasonable. Their colonies should never have been taken. Our world should never have been attacked. The Council has failed to protect its weaker members. Perhaps we need someone willing to use force to defend justice, not just to take what they want. A crystalline counselor spoke up. But if we accept these terms under threat of force, what stops every species from doing the same? The galaxy will descend into chaos. The galaxy is already in chaos, said a new voice. Dr. Hai Na appeared as a holographic projection in the chamber. She was a xenosociologist, one of Earth's leading experts on alien cultures. You call us a young species, but we have survived 3 extinction-level events on our homeworld. We have fought wars that killed hundreds of millions. We have split the atom and nearly destroyed ourselves, then chose to survive instead. We colonized our entire solar system before we ever met you. She gestured at the assembled counselors. You called us inexperienced. You called us naive. But inexperience is not weakness. You mistook our desire for peace as inability to fight. You mistook our diplomacy as submission. That was your error, not ours. Elder Counselor Thane was quiet for a long moment. He had lived for 800 years and seen countless species rise and fall. He recognized something in the humans that others did not. They reminded him of another species, long ago, that had transformed the galaxy through sheer determination. The human is correct, Thane said slowly. We have become complacent. We hide behind rules while allowing the strong to prey on the weak. We vote on matters of justice, as if they are matters of convenience. He looked directly at Morthrax. The Valkyrians have grown arrogant. They have forgotten that power comes with responsibility, not just privilege. Morthrax's face darkened. You would side with these upstarts against us? After everything the Valkyrian hegemony has done for this council? I side with what is right, Thane said. Something we seem to have forgotten how to do. Ji-Hei watched the debate unfold. This was the moment that would define Earth's relationship with the galaxy. She had prepared for this. She had practiced every argument, every counterpoint. But ultimately, it came down to something simple. Did the Council value justice more than convenience? A counselor from a small trading species stood up. I also support Earth's terms. My people have long feared the same fate as the humans. We have colonies on the edge of Valkyrian space. We live in constant fear that they will decide they need our worlds too. If the humans can stand up to them, perhaps we can too. Another species agreed. Then another. Slowly, the momentum shifted. The smaller species, the ones who had always feared the powerful, began to see Earth as a potential protector rather than a threat. Counselor Veth tried one last time to rally support. Earth's actions are terrorism. They are intimidation. They arrive with a fleet and make demands. This is not diplomacy. This is conquest. Ji-Hei turned to face him directly. When we asked for justice, you called it naive. When we prepared to defend ourselves, you called it paranoid. Now that we have power, you call us bullies. Tell me, Counselor Veth, what should we have done? Should we have meekly accepted your decision 5 years ago? Should we have surrendered our colonies and thanked you for teaching us our place? She stepped closer to his position. The problem, Counselor, is that you never expected us to actually do something about it. You thought we would complain and then fade away. You thought wrong. The vote was called. The tension in the chamber was unbearable. Species voted based on their own fears and hopes. The large empires mostly voted against Earth's terms. They saw the precedent as dangerous. But the smaller species, the ones who lived in fear of their larger neighbors, voted in favor. The final count appeared on the holographic display. 823 votes in favor. 24 votes against. The Council had accepted Earth's terms. High Chancellor Morthrax stared at the results in disbelief. His Valkyrian bloc, once the most powerful in the Council, had been isolated and defeated. His hands trembled with rage. "This is not over," he said quietly. "Earth has made enemies today." "Earth made enemies 5 years ago," Ji-Hei replied. "Today, we made it clear that we will not tolerate them." As the session ended, counselors filed out of the chamber. Some looked angry. Some looked relieved. Many looked thoughtful, reconsidering their place in the galaxy's power structure. Ambassador Rel approached Ji-Hei. "You did not have to save my people," he said quietly. "The Krell abstained 5 years ago, but we did not defend you." Ji-Hei smiled. "You did not attack us either. In a room full of cowards, abstaining took courage. We remember that. Earth protects its friends, Ambassador Rel. We always will." On the Prometheus, Fleet Commander Day Kong received a message from Earth's Central Command. It was brief. Mission accomplished. "Well done. Come home." Captain Tae-Sung appeared on the bridge. "Sir, we are being hailed by multiple species. They want to establish trade relations. They want to purchase our technology. Some are even asking if we would consider defense agreements." Day smiled slightly. 5 years ago, we could not get anyone to answer our calls. Today, they line up to speak with us. Funny how power changes perspectives. What do we tell them? Tay asked. "Tell them Earth is open to discussions," Day said. "But on our terms, not theirs. We are not the same species that left here 5 years ago. We will not be taken advantage of again." General Han-Ru joined them on the bridge. "The Council has officially returned our colonies. Transfer of authority will begin immediately. Our people can return home." "Good," Day said. "But keep the fleet on standby." The Valkyrians accepted these terms because they had no choice. That does not mean they will not try something later. "Let them try," Hanru said. We will be ready. Ji-Hei left the council chamber and walked to the docking bay where her ship waited. She felt exhausted, but satisfied. 5 years ago, she had stood in that same chamber and felt powerless. Today, she had stood there backed by the might of Earth's fleet and forced the galaxy to listen not as she boarded her vessel. She looked back at Nexus Prime one last time. The station was massive, a symbol of galactic cooperation. But it was also a symbol of how that cooperation had failed. The Council had voted to take Earth's colonies without hesitation. They had only changed their minds when confronted with superior force. Dr. Haina's words echoed in her mind. The galaxy respected strength. Earth had proven it had strength. Now it needed to prove it had wisdom too. The human fleet began its journey home. Behind them, the galaxy was already changing. News of Earth's return spread quickly. Some species celebrated. Others worried. But everyone agreed on one thing. Humanity could no longer be ignored. On Earth, billions watched the broadcast of the council session. They cheered when the vote was announced. After 5 years of isolation, after 5 years of wondering if leaving was the right choice, they finally had their answer. Earth had walked away in shame. It had returned with power, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months had passed since Earth forced the Council to accept its terms. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. President Sun Wu stood at the podium in the Nexus Prime Assembly Hall, looking out at thousands of alien representatives. He was a former military commander, a man who had spent his career preparing Earth for the worst. Now he was trying to build something better. We did not come back to dominate, Sun Wu said. His voice was translated into hundreds of languages simultaneously. We came back to ensure that what happened to us never happens to anyone else. Earth proposes a new model for galactic cooperation, one where power protects the weak instead of preying on them. The response was mixed. Some species applauded. Others remained silent. The Valtherian delegation sat with crossed arms and dark expressions. They had not forgotten their humiliation. After the speech, Sun Wu met with Ambassador Ji-Hei in a private conference room. "How did I do?" he asked. "You sounded hopeful," Ji-Hei said. "That is good. But hope is not enough. We need to show the galaxy that our way works." She pulled up a holographic map. It showed human space and the surrounding territories. 23 species have requested trade agreements. 15 want to purchase our technology. 8 are asking for defense pacts. And the Valtherians? Sun Wu asked. "They are being quiet," Ji-Hei said. "Too quiet. Intelligence reports suggest they are forming a coalition. They cannot match us militarily, so they are trying economic warfare. They want to blockade human trade routes and force us into isolation again." Sun Wu considered this. "Can they succeed?" "Not alone," Ji-Hei said. "But if they convince enough species to join them, they could make things difficult for us." 3 weeks later, the Valtherian coalition made its move. 17 species announced they would not trade with Earth. They would not allow human ships through their territory. They claimed it was about principles, about not rewarding aggressive behavior. But everyone knew it was about revenge. The blockade affected 3 major trade routes. Human merchant vessels found themselves turned away from stations they had used for decades. Some captains tried to force their way through and were fired upon. Earth's economy, which had grown rapidly in the past 6 months, suddenly faced serious problems. On Mars, Fleet Commander Day Kung received an urgent communication. "Sir, the merchant vessel Prosperity is trapped at the Valen Junction. A Valtherian fleet is preventing them from leaving. They are demanding the ship surrender its cargo as a toll." Day's eyes narrowed. "Send Commodore Tae Sung's task force. Tell him I want that merchant ship freed without firing a shot if possible. But if they insist on violence, he has permission to defend our people. Commodore Tae-sung had been promoted after the Battle of Krulix. Now he commanded a carrier group of 50 ships. His orders were clear: break the blockade without starting a war. It was a delicate mission that required both strength and restraint. The Prosperity was a civilian vessel, carrying food supplies to a human colony. When the Valtherian fleet surrounded it, the captain had sent a distress signal. Now he watched as Tae's task force dropped out of hyperspace. "This is Commodore Tae-sung of Earth," his voice broadcast across all channels. "The Prosperity is a civilian vessel engaged in legal commerce. You will allow it to pass." The Valtherian commander was a veteran named Korth. He had lost friends at Krulix. His voice dripped with contempt. "This is our space. We set the rules here. Your merchant pays the toll or turns back." Tae smiled grimly. "Your space is part of Council-recognized trade routes. Blocking them violates the Nexus Accords. You know this. Stand down." "Make us." Korth challenged. Tae gave a signal. His task force spread out in a formation that surrounded the Valtherian ships. The tactical display showed the situation clearly. 20 Valtherian vessels versus 50 human warships. The math was brutal. "I am giving you one chance," Tae said. "Move aside. Let the Prosperity pass. No one needs to die today." There was a long pause. Korth was not stupid. He recognized that he was outgunned. His orders were to harass human shipping, not to start a battle he could not win. Slowly, reluctantly, his fleet moved aside. The Prosperity passed through safely. Tae's task force escorted it to the edge of the system, and then returned to patrol positions. The blockade was broken without a single shot fired. The news spread quickly. The Valtherian coalition had tried to economically strangle Earth and failed. Other species noticed. If the Valtherians could not stop human trade with military force, what was the point of the blockade? Within 2 weeks, 8 of the 17 species withdrew from the coalition. The blockade collapsed. On the training carrier Victory, Cadet A. Rin practiced fighter maneuvers in the simulator. She was 19 years old, part of the first generation to grow up after Earth left the Council. She had never known the humiliation her parents' generation felt. She had only known strength. Her instructor, a veteran pilot who had fought at Krulix, watched her performance. "Good," he said when the simulation ended. "Your reflexes are excellent. But remember, flying well is not enough. You need to understand why we fly." "To protect Earth," A. Rin said immediately. "Deeper than that," the instructor said. "We fly so that no one ever feels powerless again. We fly so that Earth never has to bow to anyone. Do you understand the difference?" A. Rin thought about it. Protecting Earth is about defense. Never bowing is about dignity. The instructor smiled. "Exactly. You are not just a pilot. You are a guardian of human dignity. Never forget that." In a quiet office on Nexus Prime, former High Chancellor Morthrax met with Ambassador Ji Hae. The meeting had been arranged through back channels. No one else knew about it. Morthrax was no longer the powerful leader he once was. After the Council accepted Earth's terms, he had been removed from his position. Now he was just another functionary, bitter and diminished. "Why did you agree to meet with me?" he asked. Ji Hae studied the old Valtherian. 5 years ago, he had humiliated her in the council chamber. He had told her that spirit without power was just noise. Now their positions were reversed. "Because I wanted to understand something," she said. "How did you build such a fleet in only 5 years?" "We had to," Ji Hae said simply. "You taught us that the galaxy only respects strength. We learned the lesson." "I taught you too well," Morthrax said bitterly. The Valtherian hegemony ruled this council for 300 years. Now we are diminished, all because we underestimated one species. You did not just underestimate us, Ji-Hei said. You were cruel. You could have worked with us. You could have found a compromise. Instead, you took everything and expected us to accept it. You created your own enemy. Morthrax was silent for a moment. What happens now? Will Earth dominate the Council as we once did? Will you become what we were? No, Ji-Hei said firmly. Because we remember what it felt like to be powerless. We will use our strength differently. To protect, not to dominate. Pretty words, Morthrax said. But power corrupts. You will see. Maybe, Ji-Hei admitted. But we will try. That is more than you ever did. The meeting ended. As Ji-Hei left, she wondered if Morthrax was right. Would Earth become like the Valtherians? Would they forget the lessons of humiliation and become oppressors themselves? Only time would tell. 3 months later, a new threat emerged that would test Earth's principles. The Koresh swarm appeared at the edge of known space. They were an extragalactic species, something ancient and terrible. The Council had fought them once before, 500 years ago, and barely survived. Now they were returning. The Council's military forces were not ready. After years of peace, their fleets had grown soft. The first battles against the Koresh were disasters. 3 species lost their homeworlds in the opening weeks of the war. Fleet. Commander Day Kang received the reports on Mars. He was older now. His hair completely white, his body showing the strain of years of command. But his mind was sharp as ever. He called together his staff for an emergency meeting. The Council is requesting our help, General Hanru reported. They are asking if Earth will defend them against the Koresh. After everything they did to us? Someone asked. Why should we? Day looked around the room. Because that is what makes us different from them. The Council failed us when we needed them. We will not fail them when they need us. Ambassador Ji-Hei agreed. If we refuse to help, we become no better than the Valtherians. We told the galaxy that power should protect the weak. Now we must prove we meant it. President Sun Wu made the final decision. Earth's fleet would join the defense against the Koresh. Not because the Council deserved it, but because it was the right thing to do. The final battle took place near a neutron star system called the Threshold. The Koresh swarm numbered in the thousands, their ships biological and terrifying. The Council's combined fleet faced them, with Earth's armada at the front. Fleet Commander Day Kang commanded from the Prometheus. Around him, his crew worked with practiced efficiency. They had trained for years. They had fought the Valtherians. They were ready for this. All ships advance, Day ordered. Show them what humanity can do. The battle was brutal. The Koresh were unlike any enemy humanity had ever faced. They did not negotiate. They did not retreat. They simply attacked with mindless fury. But Earth's ships were faster, their weapons more powerful, and their tactics more sophisticated. Human fighters swarmed the Koresh vessels, targeting weak points with precision. Railguns fired in coordinated barrages, overwhelming enemy defenses. Plasma lances carved through biological armor. Slowly, painfully, the tide turned. The cost was high. Earth lost 30 ships in the battle. 3,000 crew members died defending a council that had once betrayed them. But they held the line. The Koresh were beaten back. Their invasion stopped Doc in the aftermath. A ceremony was held at Nexus Prime. Earth received the Star of Honor, the Council's highest recognition. But more importantly, 400 species signed a new treaty called the Terra Accords. It was based on human principles, mutual defense, fair trade, and a prohibition on strong nations exploiting weak ones. Ambassador Ji-Hei stood before the Council one last time. She was older now, tired from years of struggle. But she was proud of what humanity had accomplished. 5 years ago, we walked away in shame, she said. We returned with 1,000 warships, not because we wanted war, but because we wanted peace. Real peace, protected by strength and guided by principle. Earth will always stand ready to defend those who cannot defend themselves. That is our promise to the galaxy.